But it wasn't my intention to be the thorniest thorn. My intention was to get the information out, to be a public advocate, because that's what government should be all about, and that's what I did. Now, many of you might know that the Turnpike Authority Board is no more. Turnpike Authority went away in the name of reform. They created a whole new board called the whole new authority called the Mass Department of Transportation. Now, this board, this authority, not only oversees the tolled road, it oversees all state roads, it oversees the regional airports, the regional transit authorities, the registry of motor vehicles, and the same board members also oversee the T. This board has the power to raise tolls, fares, fees, seize property, issue debt, and enter into tens of millions of dollars worth of contracts. 5 new appointees by Governor Patrick. Now, the interesting thing about this board is that these Patrick appointees will have majority control of transportation for the first 3 years into the next governor's term. Now, face it, transportation is in everyone's face all the time. You're paying a toll, you're paying a fare, you're driving on a roadway. If they have to be able to work out some type of a relationship, that could be very scary. Now, when they were doing this, when they were creating this board that is supposed to save, they were all smiling as they're signing legislation. This is going to save $6.5 billion over 20 years. $6.5 billion.
It costs 3 times as much.
And I'm writing to the governor, I'm writing to the Joint Committee on Transportation, I'm writing to the Ways and Means Committees. Show me the money. Where are the savings coming from? And who are the beneficiaries going to be of those savings? Show me a projected cash flow statement. That never happened. Now, if I were auditor at the time, I would take that office of auditor to a whole new level. Almost like a CBO at times, Congressional Budget Office. I would say, hey, you're trying to sell this based upon $6.5 billion. To do that, the Commonwealth is going to have to do A, B, C, D, E, and put them on record for A, B, C, D, E. So the new board has a benchmark, has a goal to live up to. But instead, that $6.5 billion just went poof, poof. And we don't know if there's going to be any savings. They're backing off. There might be some savings from reducing T benefits, but even that is tied up in the court. So who knows what's going to happen with that board? It's very scary. When I first started on that board, there's a State House Press Corps newsroom. It's on the 4th floor of the State House, and it was a bustle with activity. All the regional newspapers were there, covering your interests, covering their regional readers' interests, to find out what's happening. You know, they would call all the time. You know, the Metro West Daily News, that's where I lived. They were always concerned about what was happening with tolls. But now, because of the internet, because of Craigslist, because the lack of revenue from classified ads, their budgets are hurting like our budgets, like everyone's budgets. They don't have the money to pay to send people to Beacon Hill to watch over your interests like they used to. Now, until they work out that model, I'm sure at some point they do, we need the fact finders. We have to have the fact finders. Something has to change. I'm sure they'll come to grips with it in some way, but they're hurting. Making the auditor's job all the more important. We need eyes on Beacon Hill. Now, the same auditor has been in place, Joe DiNucci, for 24 years. And he's decided not to seek re-election, so it's an open seat. The auditor reports to no one but you. So it's an elected office, one of the 6 constitutional offices. Now, the auditor doesn't audit your checkbooks. The auditor audits how the government spends the money that it takes from your checkbooks. The auditor does audits every 2 years of major agencies in the Commonwealth. The auditor can also go in and look for inefficient spending. You know, how successful is a program? Can ferret out waste and inefficiencies. The auditor can also take something like healthcare reform. Healthcare reform right now, the success of it has been measured in terms of outcomes. So we have 98% of the people in the state covered. Well, that's great. We want people to have access to good healthcare. But the flip side is, what is the cost of that? Not only to state government, but to the small businesses that are experiencing double-digit increases in premiums. What's happened with this implementation of this program, of this reform? The auditor can go in and really find out the true costs. So the information is brought out to you, and then you, in the election booths, decide whether or not you're going to continue with the people that are in. Very important. Now, the auditor also oversees, for those of you who work on town budgets, the auditor also does calculations to determine if legislation yields an unfunded mandate for the cities and towns. That's very important. Serving on the Framing and Finance Committee, I know how strapped the town budgets are. They're all in trouble. So if legislation passes that creates more undue burden on them, the auditor can partner with the town to find out exactly what it's costing and try to seek more money from the state to cover those costs. The auditor also does fraud investigation for safety net programs to make sure that people are on Medicare programs or Medicaid programs or housing authority programs, that they're truly qualified and that the funds are going to the truly needy. The auditor does those functions as well. The auditor can be very transparent. I intend to make this a very transparent office. I've done it before with my blog. I would use Twitter, Facebook, the internet to bring the information to you so you could find out what's going on, so you could find out how your tax dollars are spent. But I would even do more than that. I would put people in the office that would go to the agencies to try to keep things from happening before they occur. So, the auditor can wave the flag and say, all right, we just lost $2 million here. But wouldn't it be better if the auditor was in there in the first place to make sure that we didn't lose the $2 million? Sure, it doesn't create the great headlines that someone might want to see, but it's another way of approaching the office to make sure that money's well spent. It's a true public advocacy position, and that's what I would do in the office. I am a CPA. I'm the most qualified, in my opinion, candidate running for this seat. I think now more than ever it's an extremely important seat. Now finally, the last piece of the auditor's job that I want to make sure that you're aware of. The auditor has the final say in any initiative to privatize state services. So there's something called the Pacheco Law. And what the Pacheco Law does is it says that if an agency wants to outsource, they have to go through major hoops to prove that it's more efficient to outsource than to keep it in-house. And the calculation definitely weighs, the way the law is written, weighs in favor of keeping the services done by state employees. But the auditor has the final say in that. Even if the calculation, this tough calculation, even if that hurdle is overcome and it does prove to be more efficient to outsource, the auditor can say, by statute, deem it not in the public's best interest to outsource. So it's an extremely important decision. It's an extremely important office to make that decision, because if there are going to be large-scale savings, and this is a time more than ever that we need large-scale savings, we have to consider different ways of doing business. And we need an objective auditor to do that for us. And I, as a CPA, I would be bound by the terms, bound by the ethics of my profession to maintain objectivity, to be independent both in appearance and in fact. I would have to do the job right. I don't want to be one of these people that goes to Beacon Hill and then leaves Beacon Hill unable to practice my profession. I'm going to do this job right. I'm going to be fair and independent for you. And that's what I think is another thing that sets me apart from anyone else seeking this office. Now, when I first was appointed to the Turnpike Board in 2005, the Boston Herald wrote that Governor Romney unleashed an attack dog. The Associated Press referred to me as a pit bull. Yay. And I'm telling you, if you like me as a pit bull on the Turnpike Board, you will love me. As a volunteer, go to my Facebook page, follow me on Twitter. I need a lot of help to get there to win. I need a lot of help. I'm working really hard. I'm out every night. I'm out every weekend because I really believe it's important. My husband's taking care of the kids largely because he believes in me. He saw what was happening on Beacon Hill. He saw what happened on the Turnpike. He's as much a part of this campaign as I am, only he's got the kids, but I couldn't do it without him. But we're both very committed to winning, and we can't do it without you. We just can't. It's not going to happen. It's too big a state, too many people to try to reach out. I feel like if I could get the whole state into this living room right now, then I'd get elected. But I just don't, but to get the word out to the whole state, to get the word out to the whole state, it's hard to do. So I just need your help. That's all I can say. I need your help.
We'll do what we can.
And please visit maryforauditor.com. Campaigns are actually very expensive. Now you can always contribute to my campaign by visiting my website, maryforauditor.com, but you can also send in a check, and I would graciously accept it, gladly accept it. You could do that by mailing the check made out to the Committee to Elect Mary Connaughton to Box 1641, Framingham, Massachusetts, 01701. That's Box 1641, Framingham, Massachusetts, 01701. Thank you very much.